What just happened in Beijing left tennis fans stunned. Jannik Sinner stormed into the China Open final and walked away with a trophy. But the shocking part wasn't just that he won, it was how brutally he dismantled the 19-year-old rising star, Learner Tien. A kid who has been taking down top players all year and was supposed to push the world number one to the edge, yet instead found himself crushed in straight sets, barely able to breathe under the weight of Sinner's relentless attack. And while the scoreboard shows a simple 6-2, 6-2, the truth is far more complex, because this wasn't just another routine victory. It was a statement of power, a masterclass in tactical adjustments, and a warning to every other contender that Sinner is not just defending his throne, he's reinventing himself after the heartbreak of the US Open. And the real twist is that this final wasn't only about domination, it was about the clash of two different eras, the established champion hungry for perfection, and the fearless teenager desperate to announce his arrival. And when those worlds collided in Beijing, the result was not just a trophy ceremony, but a shockwave that will ripple across the rest of the season.
We will try to improve and push as much as we can, and let's see how the end of the season is going to look like. But
Jannik Sinner didn't just win in Beijing, he demolished the final, taking down Learner Tien 6'2", 6'2 inches, just over an hour, a scoreline so sharp it barely tells the real story, because this was his third title of the year, the 21st of his career, and a statement that the heartbreak of losing the US Open final to Alcaraz hasn't slowed him one bit, it's fueled him. And now, Beijing is proof that Sinner isn't just surviving the pressure of being number one, he's thriving in it, commanding the biggest stages with cold precision. And the crazy part is that what looked like a routine blowout was hiding something much bigger. Because this wasn't just dominance, it was transformation. And it leaves everyone asking the same question: how did he make a rising star look so powerless? This wasn't just brute force, it was chess on a tennis court. Because Sinner didn't simply out-hit Learner Tien, he out-thought him using disguised drop shots, sharp angles, and sudden pace changes that kept the teenager constantly second-guessing. And every time Tien tried to settle into a rhythm, Sinner ripped it away with another perfectly timed strike. And while the raw power difference was obvious, what really broke Tien was the experience gap. Because a first final at 19 carries nerves you can't practice away. And against a champion who just came off a Grand Slam showdown, those nerves turned into double faults, rush shots, and missed chances. And that's why the scoreboard looks so brutal. But here's the twist. This lopsided score hides the fact that Tien is no ordinary rookie, because the way he fought through those rallies proved he's already on the path to something much bigger. Learner Tien isn't just another teenager showing up on tour. He's the 19-year-old American who has been shocking veterans all year, taking down top 10 names, breaking into his first ATP final, and forcing the tennis world to say his name out loud. And what makes him different isn't just raw talent, it's the fearlessness he brings to every point, stepping on court against giants with zero hesitation, swinging like he belongs. Because in his mind, he does. And that's why Beijing was more than just a loss. It was an initiation. The kind of match that doesn't break a career, it builds it. Because while he walked away with a stinging defeat, he also walked away with the battle scars that every future champion needs. And the truth is simple, Learner Tien might not have lifted the trophy this time, but he just announced himself to the entire tennis world. Every final has its breaking points, and in Beijing, they came fast. Because early in the first set, Sinner broke serve with a ruthless backhand return that set the tone. And from that moment, Tien was chasing shadows. Then came the sequence that silenced the crowd. Sinner faked a drop shot, pulled Tien forward, and then ripped a blistering passing winner down the line. A single play that captured the entire gap between their levels. And finally, late in the second set, with Tien trying desperately to hold, Sinner stepped up and hammered 3 straight unreturnable serves, closing the door without even letting the teenager breathe. And those 3 snapshots tell the truth of this match. Because it wasn't about long rallies or endless battles, it was about Sinner striking at the perfect moments, landing knockout blows before Tien even had time to recover. And that's what made this final feel less like a contest and more like a lesson. What makes this Beijing win even more fascinating is what's been happening behind the scenes. Because Jannik Sinner hasn't just been practicing forehands, he's been rebuilding his entire setup, rehiring a fitness coach that once sparked debate, tweaking his training methods, and openly admitting that losing the US Open final to Carlos Alcaraz forced him to reinvent his game. And while critics wondered if those choices would backfire, the version of Sinner that walked into Beijing looked sharper, more calculated, and more dangerous than ever. And that means this title wasn't just another trophy. It was proof that the risks he took off the court are starting to pay off. And yet, those same choices keep fans and pundits talking. Was this brilliance or a gamble waiting to collapse? Because every champion's transformation carries questions. And for Sinner, those questions are louder than ever. This final didn't just crown a champion, it shifted the conversation for the rest of 2025. Because for Jannik Sinner, it was a thunderous reminder that he's not letting go of the top spot without a fight, turning the pain of New York into fuel for domination on Asian hard courts. And every rival from Alcaraz to Medvedev just felt that warning shot, while for Learner Tien, it was the opposite side of the same coin. Because yes, he was overpowered, but now he's tasted the pressure of a championship match, and the next time he stands across from a top player, it won't feel so new, it will feel familiar, and that's how future stars are built. And for the tour as a whole, Beijing underlined a truth nobody can ignore. The old guard is fading, the new era is here, and matches like this one are the sparks that light it up, leaving Shanghai, Turin, and even the next Grand Slam painted with questions nobody can yet answer. What we witnessed in Beijing wasn't just a final, it was a collision of timelines, the polished precision of a champion in his prime, smashing against the raw hunger of a teenager just stepping into the fire. Jannik Sinner didn't just take home another piece of silverware, he sent a clear warning to the entire field. Every adjustment he made, every tactical switch, every cold-blooded finish screamed that he's not standing still, he's evolving, reshaping his game, and preparing for battles that will define the next decade of tennis. And across the net, Learner Tien absorbed the kind of loss that cuts deep but teaches more than a dozen easy wins ever could. He came in with fearlessness, with momentum, with the promise of a new American hope, and he left without the trophy, but with something far more dangerous. The memory of standing under the lights, of seeing what it takes to hold your ground against the best, of realizing exactly where he must grow. For Tien, this was not the end, it was the beginning of his transformation. Put these stories together and Beijing feels like more than a tournament. It feels like a turning point because in that one night, we saw both the present and the future on the same court, a champion refusing to let go and a challenger desperate to break through. The question is no longer whether Sinner can keep winning, but how long he can hold off the wave of fearless teenagers coming for him. And the question for Tien isn't whether he belongs, but how soon before he turns lessons into victories. So, when history looks back at the China Open of 2025, it may not only remember the scoreline, it may remember it as the night the old guard reinforced its throne and the next generation knocked on the door. And now, I'll leave it to you, is this still the era of Jannik Sinner, sharpening himself into something nearly untouchable? Or was Beijing the spark that lit the fire under Learner Tien, the match that started the chase to topple a king?